Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 2021 Chamber Banquet and Awards. Isn't it great to be back out among our friends? Appreciate everyone turning out here tonight. We're going to keep this moving along, and at this time I'd like to invite Stan Howard to come up. Stan will sing the national anthem for us and give our invocation for the evening. After that, there will be servers serving you at your table. So enjoy.
I'd ask that you remain standing after the anthem for the invocation. Thanks. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. And the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. Let's bow our heads in prayer. Most gracious Lord, we do thank you for this night. We thank you for each business that's represented here. We just pray that you would bless our evening. We pray that you would bless our city. Bless each business represented here, Lord, each group with wisdom, with prosperity, with your favor. Lord, we just thank you for this day, this evening. Bless it. Bless this food. We thank you for the people that have prepared it. We thank you for Colonel Joslin sharing his time with us tonight. Bless him as he speaks. We thank you for it all, Lord, in Jesus' name. Amen.
All right, thank you very much. And dinner will be served. Everybody, please keep eating. They will be coming around with dessert, but we're going to go ahead and keep the program going. Hope everybody has enjoyed dinner so far. I thought it was great, and thanks to Old Roost. This time, I'd like to welcome to the stage here our Executive Director of the Chamber of Commerce, Brian Durham.
Sam. Good evening, everyone. Usually I'm super nervous at these things, but then the last time I was here was to introduce Bill Benner as speaker, and I remember standing here and looking out and realizing that everybody in the crowd was somebody that I knew. So it's no different than a normal day talking to all of you, so that is quite lovely on my end. I recently became the executive director here at the Chamber of Commerce in January after Gertrude left after 5 years of service. So I'm happy to be as the chamber director, but some of you know me and some of you don't know me. Whether that's good or bad, I hope it's bad for the ones who don't know me and good for the people who do know me. Just a little bit about myself and what I bring or hope to bring to the Chamber of Commerce moving forward. I'm originally from Connorsville, born and raised. Like a lot of my peers, we grew up, we graduated, and we left. I'd like to think that maybe it was part of the brain drain. I am a graduate of Indiana University. Went to Bloomington for 4 wonderful years and wish I could have stayed a whole lot more. But unfortunately, life takes over, and I decided to move to Montana. I thought I wanted to be a cowboy at one time, and I realized very, very quickly that I was not cut out to be a cowboy. And I ended up settling east of Cincinnati, where I became a newspaper editor for 3 weekly publications, and then later I was the sales director for 2 more, working in Southwest Ohio. Learned a lot in that job. I got to meet a lot of very interesting people, some for the better, some for the worse. It really taught me how to deal with people from various socioeconomic backgrounds. My newspaper covered from the suburban Cincinnati, an affluent neighborhood in suburban Cincinnati, to Appalachia. So I got to see a whole bunch of different people, meet some lifelong friends, and hang out with, fortunately or unfortunately, get invited to hang out with some people like our former president, Donald Trump. I was able to meet him. I was able to meet Senator Rob Portman, which was great when he called me by name, and I had never met him before. So kudos to his people for looking out on that. But while at IU, I learned something from a professor, Dr. Gary Sales, about the most important thing he ever taught me in classes that didn't seem all that important at that time. Was the most important thing in life is not who you know, or it's not what you know, it's who you know, and the other part of that is who likes you. So to build relationships with people, and hopefully they like you along the way. And that's kind of how I think I lucked into the chamber job. I reached out to Rob Wilson when I saw that the job was open, and he didn't know that I was actively looking for a job, and I really wasn't at that time until I saw an email. And I'm sure Colonel will know that, because our speaker tonight actually used to work for him. He was my last boss. So that is how it happened. An email came through. But at the chamber, something that I really want to get back to is working for the membership. I try to be a problem solver, and I get calls all the time asking, how do I do this? Who's this person that I need to talk to? And I do my best effort at finding out who those people are. Sometimes I know. Oftentimes, if I don't know, I know who knows that answer. And that's what I want to get back to, is being that person that our members can reach out to when they have a problem and hopefully solve that problem. As far as organizations go, longstanding organizations in this community, the Chamber is one of the oldest. I think the only thing that's older than the Chamber of Commerce might be Roots Blower. The Chamber's been around since the 1880s. Started as the Connorsville Board of Trade. Because of the Chamber, Central Manufacturing came to town. Ansted came to town in 1896 to really start an empire, thanks to, at that time, the Board of Trade, which became the Chamber of Commerce. But yeah, my invitation to all of you here tonight, both members and non-members, I'm here to help. Anything that you need, reach out and ask. I'll do my best to give you my best. Here tonight, there's some people that I want to thank for putting all this on. First, my chamber diplomats. So if you could please stand up when I call your name. Carol Hunter from FCN Bank. Amy Hammonds from Farmers and Merchants State Bank. Andrew Burnzott Family Farms. Karen Lippincott Insurance. Renee Nesbitt, Reed Health. Sharon McQueen, Whitewater Valley Arts Association, Donna Murray, Whitewater Broadcasting, Melinda Sudoff, retired, and our chairperson, Eddie Richardson, from Miller Moster Robbins Funeral Home. Please give them a round of applause. I'd also like to thank our bartenders for stepping up. I asked Lori Crow like 4 months ago if she'd be interested in doing this, and it wasn't until last night that I remembered that I hadn't followed up with her, so I'm glad I made sure. And my fiance, who helped put everything together yesterday while I ran around and did it as much as I could yesterday afternoon. A lot goes into this. We started on this yesterday morning at 11. I left here about 9, got back here this morning at 6:30. So really appreciative to all the people who helped put this on. And our board, who I'm going to introduce now, our board of directors. So the chamber board president, Jessica Burton, if you will please come forward, along with the executive team. So Jeremiah, Cassie, Robbie.
Jumping up here. Whatever you want to do. Well, hello. I'm Jessica Burton. Do you all want to introduce yourselves? Okay. Yeah. Robbie Wilson, Cassie Combs, Derek Matthews, and Jared Church. And we are your chamber board. Thank you all for being here tonight. So it's great to be able to see everybody. Yay for events, right? And we appreciate all of you being here to be a part of this. So among my responsibilities in my role in the chamber is to deliver a speech at the annual dinner. This is a year in review speech, and to be quite honest, I'm not sure that there's much I want to review about 2020. However, I do want to take this opportunity to acknowledge and welcome some businesses that chose to become new chamber members throughout 2020. Those businesses are Jonesy's, Larkin Greenwood Ford, American Family Insurance, Rebecca Hicks Agency, Whitewater Adult Education, RDI Corporation, Beauty and the Beloved Boutique, Hypnodelic, and Wings, etc. Thank you all for joining us as members in 2020. I also want to speak a little bit about some changes that have occurred at the chamber office during the course of the past year. First, we've moved to a new location. We now have office space at 719 West 21st Street in the Ivy Tech building. We have also experienced a change in leadership. At the end of 2020, Brian Durham was welcomed in this role of executive director as Gertrude Whitaker transitioned on to many new adventures. We were blessed to have Gertrude as our director for the past 5 years. Over the course of that time, Gertrude worked to implement programs and events such as the Business Lunch and Learn educational series, local candidate forums, the legislative series luncheons, and chamber network nights. Gertrude also focused on community outreach and was extremely successful in her efforts as chamber membership more than doubled over the past 5 years. Additionally, Gertrude worked diligently throughout the pandemic to ensure that all of the information regarding state and federal relief resources were easily accessible on our website and regularly distributed to all chamber members. Gertrude's dedication, drive, and determination will be missed. At this time, I would like to ask Gertrude Whitaker, as well as representatives from the Diplomat Committee, to join me on stage. So I think, yes, Renee has. We would like to present you with this token of our appreciation for all of your efforts over the course of the past 5 years.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Go ahead, yes.
This will be short. Unexpected. Thank you very much to the Chamber Board of Directors and to the Chamber diplomats. The 5 years with the Chamber have been a wonderful experience for me. I've enjoyed the work that I did there, the businesses and the people that I met, that I was able to serve. And I can honestly say that here in Fayette County, the lifeblood of this community, it is our businesses, and it's you as our business owners who give day in and day out. It's the employees that you hire, and it's the work that you do above and beyond your normal 9-to-5 job. You're just an amazing group of people, and you ought to applaud yourself. And it's been my privilege to work and serve with you. Great to see you guys. John, Senator, very good to see you here this evening. And I think Senator Lysing's here as well. And I just want to say thank you to the diplomats. I have enjoyed working with you. I was very saddened to hear that we lost one of our long-term great diplomats, Shirley Bish, this year. My deepest condolences and sympathies to Susan and to your family. It's a loss for this community and to our organization. And also hearing that one of our chamber owners, Dale Thomas, had just recently passed away. If Nick and the family are here tonight, I just want to say our condolences to them. But just so much work and effort go into running businesses and to being part of this community. And I just want to say thank you for letting me be a little part of that. It has been my pleasure. Thank you to my husband, Wade. He's always encouraged me, given me the time and the encouragement I needed just to go and do the work I needed, daytime, evenings. And it's just a blessing just to have a family that's so supportive. So enjoy your night. Brian, thank you very much for stepping in and taking the position as executive director. I really look forward that you're going to do some great things. And if I missed something, I'm sorry, but thank you. Appreciate it.
This time, I'd like to give out some thank yous for a lot that has gone in to make this night a real success. First, Hedro for the opening reception, Reed Health for the speaker sponsor, our annual sponsors, RDI, Union Savings and Loan, Farmers and Merchants Bank, FCN, Kemper CPA, Ivy Tech, Wilson Lawson and Myers, Fifth Third Bank, Meridian Health Services, Whitewater Valley Rehab, Whitewater Regional Federal Credit Union, Hedro, and Reed. Table sponsors for this evening. On the banner beside each and behind on each table, thank you for all your support. The City of Connersville for tables and chairs, Label Shopper for coat racks, Gilman's for a tent, Lindy's Liquor for the beer and wine, FCM Bank for the water, Kelly Isaacs for decorating and making everything as fabulous as always, and the National Honor Society for the coat check. And a special thank you to all of you attending here tonight. A lot really goes into making this possible here tonight. So now let me reintroduce our Executive Director, Brian Durham, and he will introduce our guest speaker. Thank you.
Hello once again. I want to thank Reed for allowing me to introduce our guest speaker this evening. I first met Colonel Joslin at a job interview, which I did not take the first time that I met him, because I thought I totally bombed the job interview, and as soon as I left, I knew that I did some of the math equations wrong after trying to do it too quickly. But fortunately, I applied for a job again, and he gave me the opportunity to come work with him at the Hoosier Youth Challenge Academy in 2018. I actually knew nothing about Colonel Joslin at that time, and I later found out a lot about Colonel Joslin, particularly his connections here to Connorsville. But in 2018, if you'd have told me that I would basically help build a high school for at-risk youth, I would have thought you were nuts. But thanks to Colonel Joslin, we were able to do that in Knightstown, to get a charter school operational. One of my favorite memories with Colonel Joslin was a trip that we took to San Diego for a conference for which I disappeared from for a day, which is very much like me. If you're a friend of mine, most people refer to me as Ditch and Durham, because I will just disappear and show back up at a later time. But I was looking at a map. The Coronado Bridge didn't look that far away, neither did the 32nd Street Naval Station. So I had the idea to walk to Mexico from the Manchester Grand Hyatt in San Diego, and I got a call from Colonel Joslin the next morning. He was like, "Brian, you just disappeared yesterday afternoon." We were like, "We didn't know where you were. We thought you were lost." And I was like, casually, "No, I just walked to Mexico." I didn't actually end up walking to Mexico. I took an Uber most of the way when I realized that it was 15 miles, so there and back. But it was a lot of fun with him. Not only was he my boss, I think his personal story honestly embodies a lot of East Central Indiana. Growing up in East Central Indiana, a lot of our youth go away and don't ever plan on coming back. And I think that Troy never intended on coming back to this side of the state, but he is moving back, or has moved back to his home in Mount Auburn. He likes to tell people that he's from Cambridge City, so I like to let people know that he's actually from Mount Auburn. He's a graduate of Purdue University, which, take it or leave it, but no, I have nothing against Purdue. But 32 years a commissioned officer in the Army National Guard. Ladies and gentlemen, retired Colonel Troy Joslin.
Well, good evening, everybody. It's an honor to be here tonight, and I just wanted to remind Brian what happens in San Diego is supposed to stay in San Diego. So let me talk a little bit more about myself. As Brian mentioned, I grew up in Cambridge City, and I graduated from Lincoln High School and went to Purdue University and was ready to do everything I could to leave Cambridge City and never come back to Cambridge City. So I wanted to get out and see the world and everything. And it's amazing how life has took me around the world and come back full circle. And now I'm moving back to Cambridge City, and I'm actually working 20 miles from where I grew up. And I think that's cool. So because I've went full circle. So as Brian mentioned, I joined the National Guard as an enlisted soldier in 1986. Went to officer candidate school. I was enlisted for a couple years, was an infantryman. Went to officer candidate school, got my commission in 1988 as a second lieutenant in the infantry. Was an infantry lieutenant over in Richmond. And then I was the executive officer of Delta Company, 2 of the 152 Infantry in Connersville, Indiana, in 1990. So I was XO down here for a couple years. And then I started working full-time for the National Guard. But let me back up. At the same time I was in the National Guard, I also was going to Purdue University. And I have a degree in secondary education from Purdue University. And when I graduated from school, I had intended to become a teacher, but Desert Storm started. And I got called up during Desert Storm and started working full-time for the National Guard and never quit working full-time for the National Guard. So I have held every assignment from platoon leader through company commander. I've been a battalion operations officer, a brigade executive officer. I was a brigade commander of the 38th Sustainment Brigade in Kokomo, Indiana, one of our logistics units in the Indiana National Guard. And my last assignment was as the Chief of Staff of the 38th Infantry Division located in Indianapolis. And I was very proud to be selected for that assignment because there's only 18 of those positions in the whole Army. So it was a great honor to be an Infantry Division Chief of Staff. I deployed in 2004 to Bosnia for a year. And I deployed again in 2009, 2010 to Afghanistan, where I had the honor of being the operations officer for Bagram Air Base, which basically meant I was the mayor of Bagram Air Base. So I ran a base of 30,000 people. It was 18 miles around the perimeter, and that was during the time period when the surge was going on in Afghanistan, so troops were flowing in and flowing in and flowing in. So it was a very busy time in Afghanistan and a very busy time for me. So as Brian mentioned, my Connersville connection, my dad was a World War II veteran, was a combat infantryman, served in the Battle of the Bulge, got his feet frozen, and had his toes amputated as a result of his injuries. But when he got out of the Army, he, like most people of that generation, didn't seek to be disabled. He had a few jobs around the country. He even hitchhiked to California in 1948. And I asked him one time, I said, "Dad, why did you do all that stuff when you got out of the Army?" I said, "You were wounded." He goes, "I was too young to know that there was anything wrong with me." So in 1950, my father came to Connersville, Indiana, and got a job for Rex Manufacturing and stayed there through the Philco years and on up to Ford. And he quit working there in the early 60s when he got too disabled to continue working in that line of business. But I've had uncles and brother-in-laws work for Ford. My brother worked for Stantz. I have cousins and stuff that work for Roots Blowers. So I am very familiar with Connersville, and I'm looking forward to getting back here so I can go to Kunkel's and get some pie. So Brian asked me to spend a few minutes tonight to talk about leadership and my career. So as I was preparing tonight, I started thinking about leadership, and I could bore you all talking about military terminology about leadership and that sort of thing, but I decided I would talk about just a few principles of leadership that I've learned over the years in my military career. I've encountered some leaders all the way up the chain, from my first squad leader when I was a private to meeting the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff while I was in Bosnia. So I've seen leaders from sergeants all the way up to 4-star generals. And I've seen many leaders. Some of them have been bad. They were examples to avoid. And many were good leaders who I tried to emulate over the years. And I thought about a few leadership traits that made some of the exceptional ones stand out, and how their example not only applies to the military, but to any vocation. First of all, leadership, quite simply, is getting somebody to do something that you need to have done. Usually getting a group of people to work to a common goal, and a leader is someone who goes through various means to accomplish that. The first trait that I've seen as a good leader that good leaders must have is integrity. The older I get, the more I realize that honesty, trustworthiness, respect, and responsibility are essential to leadership. I have seen many dynamic supervisors who have a lot of charisma, but they lacked integrity. And as a result, they couldn't be trusted to complete the mission. And then I've also seen many quiet, unassuming soldiers with integrity that soldiers would follow anywhere and do anything for them because they had integrity. Integrity is something that can't be regained very easily if it's lost either. So, money, possessions, and jobs can go and be regained, but once your character's gone, it's very hard to get that back. The next trait I find essential to being a good leader is communication. And as Brian knows, for me, that is one thing I've never really lacked at, is my ability to communicate with folks. A team's only as good as its members' ability to understand what needs to be done. So it's been my experience that when you communicate as a leader and everybody understands what the common goal is, it makes the organization work that much more effectively. Also, I believe a leader needs to have what they call self-awareness. We don't talk about that a lot in the military, but a leader has to know who they are, what their weaknesses are, what their strengths are, how they tick. And I've been fortunate enough, not only have I been self-aware over the years, but I've had some good non-commissioned officers who have helped me understand what my strengths and weaknesses are. And they've taken me aside over the years and said, "Hey, come here, Joslin, or Colonel, or Sir. If you do this, you're probably going to screw something up, right?" And they've managed to keep me squared away. So because I had pretty good insight, it helped me develop as a leader. So one of our greatest soldiers, General Dwight Eisenhower, once said that the most important thing a soldier can do is what he's told to do his job. And I took that to heart a lot of times. I never complained about a mission. I never complained about a job, as long as it was legal. And a lot of my peers would never do that. A lot of my peers would complain, "I don't want to do that. Why do we have to do that? We don't have the resources to do that. If we do that, we can't do this. I want to do the flashy stuff." And I never felt like that was my job. I felt like my job was to complete the mission that my boss told me to, and make sure it was done legally, and figure out a way to do it legally, because I got paid to do what the boss told me to do. And I'll give you a good example. So this is a kind of a mundane example, but in 2011, General Umbarger was the commander of the Indiana National Guard, the adjutant general. He calls me in his office and he says, "Troy, I want you to move this brigade headquarters from Indianapolis to Terre Haute." "Got it, sir." Well, I done some research, and the last 2 or 3 officers that were in the job I was in were tasked with the same mission, but they couldn't get it done. So I went back to my office, sat down with my sergeants, and we put a plan together, and we moved to Terre Haute. 60 days later, we're sitting in Terre Haute, operating as we're supposed to be. Well, General Umbarger calls me up and says, "I can't understand how you got this done when nobody else could do it. How were you able to get this done?" And I said, "Well, it's simple. You told me to move, so we moved." So I call that the Forrest Gump principle of leadership. Sometimes you don't have to be the smartest person in the room. You just got to be the one willing to do what the boss tells you to do, as long as it's legal and it's the right thing to do. Loyalty is another virtue that I think is indispensable for leaders. As a leader, I always felt like it was my responsibility to support my boss and to complete the mission. And if I didn't feel that way, if I didn't want to support my organization, didn't want to support my boss, then maybe I was in the wrong job. Maybe I had the problem, not the organization. So loyalty was a good companion to have in my years as a soldier. A good leader has to be a good follower. The Army calls it followership, and it's a new term. We talk about leadership all the time, but we don't talk about the flip side of it, which is followership. You can't be a good leader unless you're a good follower. And a good follower doesn't necessarily mean you're a yes man, but it means you support the boss, you support your supervisor, you support the owner of the company, you support the vision on where it's going. But that doesn't mean you don't have the candor or the character to express some concerns. You can't be a yes man. You've got to tell your boss how things really are. And I'll give you an example on that. When I'm in Afghanistan in 2010, and I worked for a one-star general, and his boss was a two-star general, the commander of the 82nd Airborne, Major General Kurt Scaparrotti, who later became the Supreme Commander of Allied Forces in Europe, a four-star general. And I'm briefing him, and we're going through my evaluation because he wanted to evaluate all the lieutenant colonels that worked in his headquarters. And he asked me, he goes, "Joslin, what do I need to know about what's going on here in Afghanistan?" And I had been talking to some of my colleagues, and I said, I just got to tell him this. And I said, "Sir, we are taking advantage," I used a little bit different terminology, of the American taxpayer over here." He goes, "What?" I said, "Sir, we are using local contractors, Afghanistan construction companies, to build these buildings over here on this base, and they're not being done to standard. And as a result, we've got to come in with our folks and spend more money and pay for these buildings twice to get them done to standard." And I said, "We might as well be flying over the countryside throwing money out of the back of airplanes because we're not being good stewards of the public's money." He took a note down. He goes, "I got it, Troy." He goes, "I am going to bring it up to the commander of U.S. Forces Afghanistan." And next thing I know, 3 days later, I'm being interviewed by members of the Congressional Committee on Wartime Contracting on abuses that are occurring in Afghanistan. So sometimes you have to do the right thing, even though it might not be popular. But sometimes, as a follower, you owe the boss the truth. What the boss does with it is his or her decision, but sometimes you owe him that. I was promoted to colonel on 1 September 2013. My father attended this ceremony, although at the time he was in a wheelchair, suffering from dementia. And a funny thing about that is, the ceremony started out to be my promotion ceremony, and what it turned out to be was an observation and a remembrance of my dad's military service. So it wasn't even about me at all. But I was fine with that because it was about my hero. So he's my hero, and he always will be. On 1 December of 2013, I was given command of the 38th Sustainment Brigade, a logistics unit comprised of approximately 2,000 soldiers. As the commander, I was required to attend some senior Army logistics courses and leadership courses, and I was at a course at Fort Lee, Virginia, where the Army Quartermaster General was talking to some of us colonels, about 4 or 5 of us colonels in a room. And he makes a comment that really stunned me, and I've never forgot it. he looked at us and he said, if you've got 5 priorities, gentlemen, and more than 2 of them are different than your boss's, you got the wrong priorities. And I've never forgot that, and I always tried when I set my priorities to make sure that my priorities were the same priorities as my boss's. So I've never forgot that, and it's kept me in good stead as a result of that. I want to also mention another leadership trait that I think is important, and I'm going to lump these 2 together, even though it's 2. I kind of consider them 2 sides of the same coin. One of them is visibility, and one of them is approachability. So whether you're a supervisor anywhere, out in a business or in a military or anything, you need to get out of your office and see what's going on. And I always got out of my office and went out and talked to soldiers, because soldiers usually told me what was going on. My staff wouldn't always tell me what's going on, and sometimes I wasn't sure that they even knew what was going on, but soldiers always told me what was going on. And sometimes I didn't like what I heard, but it was what I needed to hear. So I always went out and talked to soldiers, and I was approachable to soldiers. And I made sure they understood that I really did care, because they can spot a phony. And anybody that works for you can spot a phony. If you're not genuine and you're concerned for your employees or your subordinates, they'll figure it out sooner or later. So I always made myself approachable and made sure that they understood that I had an open door policy. And if they had some concerns that couldn't be addressed through my subordinates, they could come see me. I have one final trait I want to mention as a leader, and it's called perseverance. Brian, you've heard me talk about that before out at Knightstown. So perseverance is the ability to keep going despite setback, to rebound from failures. Winston Churchill once said that success consists of going from failure to failure without a loss of enthusiasm. I've often told my subordinates, I never learned anything from my successes. I learned a lot from my failures, and I've had a lot of failures over the years, but that's how I learned. So I'm at the point to talk about my thoughts tonight, and some of you are probably saying, how does this impact me? All these characteristics aren't just related to the military. They work anywhere. I've seen soldiers take these same characteristics and succeed in starting their own companies and working for other employers. And these leadership principles that I learned in the Army, they work. And I believe in them. I believe in them so much that I still practice them every day in my current assignment. So in 2018, I was getting ready to retire, and the Adjutant General of Indiana came to me and he said, Troy, we've got our Hoosier Youth Challenge Academy in Knightstown, and I need to make a change out there. And I need you to go out there and get some things fixed for us. So I saluted and moved out there. And he told me, he goes, if you can get out there and do a good job, he goes, we may look at making you the director when you retire. So I've been at the Hoosier Youth Challenge Academy since 2018. Our program is a program for at-risk youth between the ages of 16 and 18 years old, and at risk of dropping out of high school. We use a military model. Indiana is one of 42 programs in the nation. Our military model teaches discipline and life skills to help students prepare to return to high school or be successful in their efforts to obtain their high school equivalency. The program has its roots going back to the 1960s. There was a sociology professor in Washington, D.C., who noticed in his neighborhood there was these thugs that were disappearing and coming back a couple years later, and they had their acts together. They were getting jobs, they were getting married, they were buying cars, they were buying homes. Can anybody guess what happened to these folks? They got drafted. So he's looking around and he's like, what is this draft thing doing to these at-risk individuals? And as he started doing research, he realized that the military model, discipline and training, teaches some skill sets that enabled these folks to learn how to be successful in life. So after the Vietnam War ended and the draft ended in 1973, Congress started looking for a way to get at the growing high school dropout rate. In 1993, the Youth Challenge program was started through Congress, and it was directed to be administered through the Department of Defense and the National Guard, because the National Guard's out in every community. So Indiana started their Youth Challenge program in 2007 at Camp Atterbury, and we moved to Knightstown in 2010. And as of last class, we've graduated over 2,000 cadets from the Hoosier Youth Challenge Academy. We have 2 classes a year. Thank you very much. We have 2 classes a year. One starts in the middle of January and goes through the middle of June, and the next class starts the middle of July and goes through the middle of December. 22 weeks in residence and then a year in post-residence, where we help the graduates either go back to school, work on vocational skills. Some go in the military, although we're not a program specifically designed to put people in the military. We're a program designed to teach life skills. As I mentioned before, our program's a DoD program. 75% of our budget is federal, 25% is state. It's at no cost to the parents. I tell parents all the time, we are basically giving your child a $21,000 scholarship to come to Knightstown and learn skills to turn their lives around. Indiana is one of the top states with high school dropouts. That was the statistics last year. That percentage costs the state billions of dollars annually, and we are a solution. And we're not competing with schools or anything. We want to get our kids the skills to get them back into school and graduate and help them be productive citizens. The most important job, and I'll close with this, the most important job that I ever had in the military was the job I have right now, because I have been entrusted with our greatest natural resource, our youth. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Colonel. It's having spent 24 years in the Indiana Army National Guard myself, I salute you and thank you for your service. Really appreciate that. This time, anyone that has served in the military for our great country, please stand. Thank you all for your service, and thank you to your family members who supported you and who kept the home fires burning while we were out, whatever our mission was, protecting this great land. At this time, I would like to introduce Gard from Genesis Real Estate, and she will present the Beautification Award.
Hello, everybody. It's an honor to be here tonight. My name is Gard. I'm with Genesis Real Estate Group. This year, we provided a free dumpster for homeowners, specifically between 11th and 8th Street at the bottom of the hill. Beautifying Connersville is something that we care deeply about. The beautification is given in recognition of the organization or business who has made an outstanding contribution to the effort of beautifying and raising the image of Connersville, Fayette County, aesthetically through efforts with their business and or throughout the county. Our nominees for this year are the Oasis Discover Connersville, located downtown at the former Huffy's Bar Lot. Discover Connersville, transform the space into a usable community garden and park. Jonesies, Derek Jones. Upscale restaurant located on the corner of 16th and Ohio Avenue, Jones transformed. CK Fasteners, Jason Graves. Located on 11th Street, upgraded the outside aesthetic of his business and will continue to make improvements. And the winner is, there's no drum roll? No? Thank you. All right. Jonesies, Derek Jones. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Well, I appreciate whoever nominated us. It's been a little while since we started the project, and now that we're open. We've been very thankful for all the hard work from all the local businesses in Fayette County and in Franklin County that have helped to make the transformation from the dental office to the restaurant. So we thank you very much, and hopefully we'll have many more years to make a difference here in Fayette County. Thank you.
Now I'd like to ask Brad Wilson from Wilson, Lawson & Myers to come forward to present the Small Business Award. Brad?
The Small Business Entrepreneur Award is given to a small business or entrepreneur that demonstrates and exemplifies the American dream of free enterprise and success. This award is given to a business that has and continues to make significant contributions and impact on our community by their superior or unique accomplishments in the operation of their business and other endeavors. Through its integrity and charity, this small business or entrepreneur should provide a goodwill spirit and character within our community. Our four nominees for this evening are ABC Graphic Concepts, they're located on 7th Street in the heart of our downtown, specializing in custom printing and design. Willowbrook Country Club, I think most of us know they're located on Country Club Road on the west side of Connersville, providing 18 holes of leisurely golf for their patrons. El Caballo Blanco, our Mexican restaurant located on the Phil, which on the Phil, the older folks in the crowd can understand that. Most of the others think it's on East Fifth Street. Last but certainly not least, Whitewater Broadcasting. The parent company of KMX 106.9, our local radio station in Connersville. And the winner is Willowbrook Country Club. Dr. J, Cindy, Andrew.
Wasn't exactly expecting this, so this has been a lot of hard work. Came out of nowhere, but I need to thank some people, especially the people of this community, because without you guys, we wouldn't be here. So Fayette Toole, my son Andrew who runs the golf course, my wife and I, we put a lot of work into this thing, so thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Now it's time for the coveted award, Citizen of the Year. I'd like to ask Amanda Back from Union Savings and Loan to come forward, please.
Good evening, everyone. Introducing the Citizen of the Year Award. Citizen of the Year Award represents the highest recognition given by the Chamber to an individual member of the business community. Candidates must be or have been active in the Fayette County business community with the following criteria: demonstrated leadership, success in promoting the development of the community, overall involvement and contributions to the community, participation in professional activities, and respected reputation among the community's leadership. Since 1971, 49 others have earned this recognition from the Chamber of Commerce. From Sammy Regenstriff in 1971 to Becky Marvel in 2020, all have worn the badge with honor. This year, the community nominated 2 individuals for this recognition: Eric Hopkins and Shirley Bish. I'm going to read the letters that were submitted for the nominees. Eric Hopkins is owner-agent of Hopkins Insurance Agency, founded in 1979. In addition to being a successful business owner, Eric is also an ordained minister and a longtime active member and past chair of the Fayette County Ministerial Association. He currently serves as associate pastor for Growing Branches for Christ Ministries. Eric is a serial volunteer. He serves the community in many capacities, from being a member of the Fayette County Voices, Discover Connorsville, Fayette County Food Council, to volunteering for myriad organizations. He was one of the original supporters, both financially and physically, for the House of Ruth. He remains a dedicated helper there, giving freely of his time and money for whatever is needed. He helps to serve meals at the Salvation Army. He provides transportation for others to doctor's appointments, prison visits, the VA, grocery, and more. He has taken care of and mentored several elderly individuals. This consisted of remodeling a home near his so he could make sure one gentleman had safe shelter, food, and medical attention. He took that man along with him to many public meetings and outings to provide the social stimulation he was lacking. When asked to describe him, one of his close friends said, "Eric is a servant to whoever needs help." No is not in his vocabulary. Another friend said he is just a great guy, very quiet and unassuming. He is always ready to lend a hand with a smile on his face. Shirley Bish. Shirley has been a prominent fixture in the community for many years. She was the longest serving chamber diplomat from its inception in 1985 until her resignation in 2020. She served as executive secretary for Ralph Newquist at Blower and at H&H Robertson before becoming a realtor with American Heritage Realty and was a member of the East Central Board of Realtors. She was a member of Business and Professional Women since 1996. Along with her sister-in-law, Jeannie Risch and Patsy Miller, helped found the reality store for middle school students to get a dose of real life. She's helped to provide scholarships to Connersville High School students, sponsored Fair Queens, served as president of St. Vincent de Paul for over 50 years, served on the KFC Auxiliary for over 20 years, with several terms as president. She helped expand the mission of the Chamber of Commerce for over 35 years. Unfortunately, Shirley passed on March 31st of this year. Her presence will be missed in the community. So the Citizen of the Year is Susan, if you would join me up here, please, to accept the award of Citizen of the Year for your mother.
I don't even know where to begin. My mom was an amazing mom. I was blessed in all those words of leadership, the integrity and the perseverance and loyalty she exemplified every day of my life. Thank you all.
We would like for the winners tonight to come back up on stage as soon as this is over so we can get pictures. I'd like to thank you all for coming, but before we close the meeting, let's give Brian Durham a round of applause. He's done a great job here. Once again, thank you all for coming. I hope you've enjoyed your evening, and you're dismissed. Thanks.